Constellation Nullifier is an uncommon from 2025's Across the Ink Sea. Text changing has a long history in Magic, dating all the way back to Alpha with Magical Hack and Sleight of Mind. Cards with the effect are made very sparingly, with wizards often going years at a time without printing one, and cards that exclusively do so most often being limited to changing color words and basic land types. The first real expansions of what can be done with text changing were from Unhinged, in the form of Look at Me, I'm R&D, which changed all instances of a number to that one digit higher or lower, and Magical Hacker, which could swap pluses to minuses and vice versa. A few years later was the Overload mechanic in Return to Ravnica, which used text changing to make single target spells into ones that could affect all applicable targets. After that was Unstable, which had Phobe, Head of Sneak, who could steal the text boxes of our creatures. We then had Cleave and Innistrad Crimson Vow, which centered around moving part of the card's text to improve its effects. A year later came Infinity with Exchange of Words, which could swap the text boxes of two different creatures, something later used in a similar vein by the most recent text-changing card, Deadpool, Trading Card. But enough history, let's talk about Constellation Nullifier. Constellation Nullifier does a new effect using text changing, that being removing the text boxes of cards with a chosen name in all zones, with the exception of those that have been on the battlefield for more than a turn. While this is somewhat weaker than a typical meddling effect, like those found on Nevermore or the namesake Meddling Mage that straight up prevent the spell from being cast, and it may not be as long lasting compared to something like Pithing Needle, it does have its own uses. For example, removing the text box entirely prevents the use of other abilities that don't actually cast the spell, either from the hand such as Cycling or Ninjutsu, or from the graveyard like Scavenge, Eternalize, or your standard self-reanimation ability. Constellation Nullifier is also useful when dealing with cards you know there will be multiple of, like the various cards with Conjure in this set. It's a neat card, I like it.